Now at 5 and streaming on crossroadstoday.com, police in Conroe are investigating an officer-involved shooting. One person was hurt. And a standoff continues at the border between the federal government and the state of Texas. Plus, emergency workers in Harris County busy with multiple high water rescues.
For us, the rain has ended, folks. It is over. We're looking for clearing weather all the way through the weekend. We're looking even at some cooler temperatures as the big storm system has finally moved away. It was a record-breaking rain. We'll be talking about it coming up in just a few minutes.
The director of the CIA is heading to Europe to help broker a hostage deal between Israel and Hamas. You're watching 25 News Now at 5. Good afternoon and thanks for being with us. I'm Karina Garcia. Authorities are investigating an officer-involved shooting in Conroe. The DPS says troopers were in the middle of a narcotics investigation when shots were fired this morning. The suspect is described as a 35-year-old male. He was hurt and taken to the hospital, but he's now in stable condition.
There was a narcotics investigation. During that investigation, one suspect, white male, approximately 35 years of age, was shot by a DPS trooper. They immediately provided life-saving measures to that individual, and he was transported to Conroe HCA in stable condition.
No other injuries were reported. The Texas Rangers and the Montgomery County DA's office are currently looking into the incident. Workers are moving soil contaminated by a chemical leak at the Port of Victoria out of the port. San Patricio County Sheriff Oscar Rivera says the 50 to 60 trucks of soil are moving through his county. The soil will go to U.S. Ecology in Robstown, a waste facility designed to handle that kind of material. The oil and chemical spill at the Shamrock Products Terminal at the Port of Victoria happened January 3rd. Authorities say about 300 barrels of crude oil and diesel were leaked. High demand jobs are out there, and now there's a grant money available to help train people for those positions. 25 News Now Weekend anchor Adam Seibel joins us in studio with more.
That's right, Karina. This was a collaboration between the Victoria College, the Victoria ISD, and another few agencies. Texas Workforce Commissioner Chairman Brian Daniel was on hand at the Victoria College Emerging Tech Complex for this announcement. They provided nearly $250,000 in funds to help prepare Victoria's educational community for everything needed to train students in subjects like industrial technology and similar fields.
The Victoria Sales Tax Corporation pledged $150,000. That was matched by the Workforce Commission for another $150 for dollar. That brings $300,000 toward training and support services to this community.
Again, the grant will help Workforce Solutions, Golden Crescent, Victoria College, Midcoast Contraction Academy, and the Victoria ISD Career and the Technical Education Program. The grant is a partnership with these training entities and is co-funded by the Victoria Sales Tax Development Corporation. Gajardo says with the new industries coming to the Port of Victoria, this money will help fill those high-demand jobs that will soon become available. Karina, back to you.
Adam, thank you. And with that, let's take a look at your forecast with Chief Meteorologist Mac Perez. Mac, it seems like we're possibly out of this rainy weather that we've been having.
Quite a surprise to see the sun today, huh? It'd been, what, 5 days of, heavy rainfall. It was a record rainfall, as a matter of fact. We had about 7 inches of rain in the last 5 days. Well, as of this morning, all of that system pulled away. You can see out there, there's some low-level moisture and cloud cover still left in the area. So we may have some fog tonight and maybe a little morning drizzle. Another little front, however, is coming through for some nice dry weather right in time for the weekend. We'll have more details on that coming up in just a few minutes. Karina?
Mac, thank you. Another round of heavy rain in the Houston area led to several car rescues today. Flooding and high water spots from the heavy rain have caused some drivers to get stuck in high water areas. Emergency workers rescued 5 people from vehicles submerged in the water. In this aerial video, you see 3 cars near each other submerged in flood water. It's unclear if anyone was hurt. Now in Tomball, northwest of Houston, heavy rains flooded Spring Creek along the Harris and Montgomery Montgomery County lines. This vehicle was stranded in the low-lying area. Barricades even went up last night, but authorities say 3 motorists got stranded after trying to drive around them. One vehicle was pulled out of the high water by a semi-truck. Authorities say the water here and in other places in southeast Texas will continue to rise through the weekend as waters move down from the north. Governor Greg Abbott declared an invasion at the border. This week, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the Biden administration, saying it can remove razor wire at the border. But in the days since, Texas has instead beefed up its presence.
In the battle between Texas and the federal government, this is the live wire. Clothes and trash are caught in it. Even a little girl's shoe lays alone nearby. The Supreme Court ruling the feds can cut the state's razor wire. Advocates say migrants tangled in it have gotten hurt, and the Justice Department argues it makes it tough to patrol the border. Do you think the razor wire is working?
Well, I think given what we have to deal with, that the razor wire is helping move the flow.
Republican Congressman Chip Roy says the Supreme Court's ruling is overstepping.
They're ignoring the core principle in a Republican form of government, the Constitution, that we, the people, we, the state of Texas, we ultimately get to defend ourselves.
Texas says it's holding the line. DPS video shows the National Guard is adding reinforcements.
From what we see and from what has happened, the state of Texas has had to do what is necessary in order to make sure that we are dealing and protecting our communities from the local perspective.
Maverick County Judge English Cantu says the federal government hasn't helped his community. Last month, thousands of migrant men, women, and children flooded Eagle Pass. He hopes the razor wire sends a sharp message.
This is not going to be the type of easy entrance to the U.S. That everybody seems to think that the Eagle Pass Piedras Negras port is.
18 people were evacuated from a bakery in Fort Worth and treated for possible carbon monoxide poisoning. It happened this morning. First responders were on the scene at the Guanajuato bakery around 10:30 a.m. Multiple people reported carbon monoxide poisoning. The Fort Worth Fire Department says one woman was even unconscious, but details about the other 17 patients are currently unknown. Fire Department crews say construction work was going on the building late Wednesday. CIA Director William Burns will help broker a deal to release the remaining hostages in Gaza. This weekend, Burns will travel to Europe and meet with the head of Israeli intelligence and Qatari Prime Minister. Israel proposed a new 2-month pause in fighting in exchange for the release of more than 100 hostages held in Gaza. A Hamas spokesperson says they will release hostages if Israel releases all Palestinian prisoners. These talks are expected to happen while Israeli forces close in on a city in southern Gaza where they believe top Hamas leaders are located. Texas election officials are facing challenges with the new Republican-backed election law requirements. This law requires certain counties to increase the number of polling locations, which may pose issues for smaller counties. Leading us to your beer poll, you can scan that QR code on your screen to vote now. The question is, does your county have enough polling locations? Yes or no? We want to hear from you. Come to crossroadstoday.com/vote to take part, and we're going to have an update on 25 News Now at 10. Early voting for the City of Victoria mayor runs through January 30th. Early voting is at the Dr. Patty Dotson Public Health Center, 2805 North Navarro, Classroom A. You can vote this week from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. On January 29th and 30th, you can vote from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. On the ballot is Peter Brown, Carissa Winters, Josephine Solis, Dwayne Crocker, Jacob Salceda, and Robert Bob Constantine. Join us Saturday, February 3rd for complete coverage of this special mayor election. And remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click that notification bell. For now, stay with us. Former President Donald Trump has testified against accusations made in his defamation trial. That's straight ahead on 25 News Now at 5. Also ahead, some Robitussin products are under a recall due to microbial contamination. Former President Donald Trump testified at a New York trial where writer E. Jean Carroll is seeking more than $10 million in defamation damages against him. During his minutes-long testimony, Trump said he stands by his denial of Carroll's sexual assault accusation. The jury has dismissed, or rather was dismissed, after Trump's testimony, and court ended for the day. Closing arguments are expected Friday morning. After that, jury will deliberate. SAG-AFTRA is supporting Alec Baldwin as he faces a second involuntary manslaughter charge. The Hollywood Union issued a statement saying an actor's job is not to be a firearms or weapons expert. During the filming of the movie Rust in 2021, cinematographer Helena Hutchins was fatally shot by a round of ammunition fired by a prop gun Baldwin was holding. He was charged with involuntary manslaughter, but charges were later dropped. The second charge comes following a grand jury indictment held just last week. Hal Leon Healthcare is recalling 8 lots of Robitussin syrups due to microbial contaminations. They include adult versions of Honey CF Max Day and Honey CF Max Nighttime. The contaminated products have an expiration dates of 2025 and 2026, and their lot numbers are on the FDA website. The company says it has not heard of any adverse reactions to these products. A recent study shows fewer children are ingesting those pods filled with laundry detergent. The experts say this is all thanks to safety and awareness measures.
It's not a new danger. For years, there have been warnings about the risk of exposure or ingestion of the liquid inside laundry detergent pods, and new research shows they still pose a problem.
What we found was that despite all of these public health and industry efforts, we're still seeing many people of all ages being exposed to these laundry detergent packets.
Dr. Christopher Gaw with Nationwide Children's is senior author of a study that researched detergent pod-related calls into U.S. poison control centers between January 2014 and December 2022. While researchers say there have been declines in the number, rate, and severity of exposures among children younger than 6, the most recent 3 years of the study found more than 36,000 calls related to these exposures.
Usually ends up in their mouths, and oftentimes if they bite down on it or it dissolves, that's how the detergent gets released.
Researchers also found increases in exposures among older children, noting dangerous social media challenges, and among older adults with cognitive impairments like Alzheimer's, who may have mistaken the pods for food. To keep those who are most vulnerable safe from accidental exposure or ingestion, Gaw says to store detergents out of reach of little hands and in their original containers.
I think also there's opportunity from an industry and policy perspective to really strengthen and shore up these product safety standards.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Texas Parks and Wildlife commissioners are considering a land swap with SpaceX that would give the company almost 43 acres of land from a Boca Chica State Park. You can read the full story by the Texas Tribune on our CrossroadsToday.com website. And now here's Mac.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Don't be scared. It's called the sun. We haven't seen that in a while, but it is finally back. 71 degrees right about now. Of course, you know, it was nice to get the rain. It was a record rainfall and a very good rain. Managed to get up to 73 today, and 53 was our overnight low. We only had 2400s in the last 24 hours, but I'm going to have the long range totals coming up in a minute. But for the month of January, as you can see right about there, we are doing 7 inches, and normally we're about 546, so we're doing real good. This is going to be a great rain if we don't get another one for another month or so, but you know, things just can't rely on these things anymore. Anyway, we'll be talking more about your weekend weather coming up in just a few minutes. Welcome back, everybody. This was a beautiful rain. I mean, we had substantial rainfall, minimum of problems, and it all fell at an important time because next month, a lot of folks are going to start planting. And next month, you know, things are going to start greening up and the animals are going to have a great time and we're going to be in really good shape for the beginning of the year. Now, this is the Coco Ross estimate. I added up all 5 days. So in the last 5 days down at Riverside Park, over 7 inches. In Goliad, they had over 6 inches. Hallisville really got, 10 inches in 5 days. That's pretty amazing. And Gonzales had a significant, two significant storms that went through there. So we're in good shape. I mean, you know, you're never perfect, but it's as good as it can get. Of course, skies cleared out as that upper air storm finally moved out of the area, but we do have a lot of moisture on the ground and in the air, and it's not dry yet. So tonight we're probably going to see some fog. In the morning, a little drizzle possible, okay? But I wouldn't worry about it. No significant rainfall, flooding. Well, that's all going down. It'll be in the rivers now. Maybe the low water crossings should be clearing up. You can see how that stormy weather is all the way out there in Louisiana. We have another little storm right here, and it is going to be rolling across North Texas. I don't think it's going to be far enough to affect us, but it will give us a frontal system by the time we get to Saturday morning. Here's the storm last night. That's right about 11 o'clock. So here we are. Here's the city, and there's the Karina City getting the big thunderstorm. And then it went through, and right there at about 2 o'clock in the morning, we had the thunder and the rumble, and then we had that second little band that came through, and then at 4 o'clock, everything just cleared out. So we are, shall we say, in a whole lot better situation now. There is, of course, Victoria and the rainfall totals. Well, let's look at the scale. You can see this is, of course, the last 24 hours. So green up to an inch, blue over an inch. So again, as I said, we got the rain, minimal of problems. Hopefully no major problems out there. Of course, over the next couple of days, everything drains down into the river bottoms. And so we need to be on the lookout for that. So here's where we are today. You can see how the river is rising. This is the Guadalupe right here in the city. So it's going to be rising up. So those of you who, frequent Riverside Park, you're going to see some high water levels there. And then it, about Tuesday or Wednesday of next week begins to lower. And those of you in Cuero, just those of you around that area, know you're going to have a little bit of lowland flooding associated with this over the weekend. And then next week, everything sort of settles down. So all of a sudden, we're doing real good for the next couple of days. Here's Future Tracker, and as you can see, a little bit of cloud cover on Friday morning rolls back in. So it's not clear and blue. And now the model here is putting in a little itty-bitty showers, but I just don't think we're going to have that much moisture. And then a little front comes through, and that will clear us up very nicely as we get into the weekend. There you see that north wind, and that's going to bring in some dry air. So let's take a look at your day planner. For those of you in Port Lavaca, mostly cloudy in the morning, cloudy in the afternoon, a sprinkle possible with that front. For those of you in Cuero, we're looking for cloudy, mostly cloudy skies. And then for those of the rest of us, we're looking for improving weather for Saturday, very nice weather for Sunday, and things really, shall we say on the dry side through middle of next week. That's your 7-day forecast. Reminding everybody we do have a QR code. Love for you to scan that, put Crossroads Today on your phone. Karina, back to you.
Thank you, Mac. Coming up next on 25 News Now at 5, we're going to take a look at your stocks. Plus, Alaska Airlines reveals how much the 737 MAX groundings have cost them this year. Taking a look at your stocks, the Dow up 243 points, the S&P 500 up 26 points, and the Nasdaq up 29 points. Oil up $2.27, closing at $77.36 a barrel. Alaska Airlines says the grounding of the 737 MAX will cost about $150 million. This comes after the door plug blowout blew a hole in the side of an Alaska Airlines plane. That led to the FAA to ground all 737 MAX 9 jets. Alaska reported an adjusted income of $38 million in the final 3 months of the year. For the full year, it was $583 million. Alaska Airlines says the first of its grounded jets will return Friday, and it will add more planes every day once reviews are completed. Now, most parents expect to pay for their children until they become adults, but a new report shows many are still financially supporting their now adult children, and sometimes even into their late 20s and 30s. About a third of young adults between the ages of 18 and 34 are still living at home with a parent. Many of those young adults have student loan debt. Today's young adults are also more likely to have college degrees and earn more money on the inflation adjusted basis than their parents did 30 years ago. Stay with us. We're going to take one last look at your forecast. Plus, a firefighter in Massachusetts rescued a dog from an icy river. Plus, here's a look at world news tonight, right after 25 News Now at 5.
Across several states right into the Northeast this evening. Also, the historic church suddenly collapsing. You'll see the images tonight. And the young dancer who died after eating cookies that had peanuts. Were they marked? And now the recall tonight. We're next.
Join me for the 2024 Crossroads Heart and Stroke Walk. The event takes place Saturday, February 3rd at 8 a.m. and the walk will start at 8:15 at Riverside Park. Finally, a Massachusetts dog is back home and safe after a bone-chilling threat. A golden doodle named Rupert fell through a patch of ice on the Fore River Wednesday morning. A rescue crew was called to the scene and found him holding onto a piece of ice with his bottom half submerged. You can see him right there.
Ouch.
A fire crew named Dan had on his wetsuit and was able to get Rupert to shore, where he was reunited with his owner. Aside from needing some warmth, he seemed to be in pretty good shape. And you know what?
Yeah.
Can you blame him? The
What?
ice, you know, you can't tell sometimes.
Yeah, I'm just always impressed about these first responders that get out there in the ice.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, we're lost. I'm going, I've got to go here on purpose. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So thanks to them,
and
and
then
hopefully.
bone-chilling water.
Oh,
yeah. Oh,
can
goodness.
you imagine? I mean, I can't get into the shower when it's too cold. So.
What about the water here? Do we have any
Oh, well,
showers?
we're doing great. You know, the rain over 5 days was spectacular. We didn't have too many problems, and now that rain's gone. Tomorrow we have a little bit of cloud cover left over, maybe some fog and drizzle early in the morning, but then in the evening this little front comes through and gives us a nice dry air. In fact, it'll be cool and clear as we get into Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday are still looking good. So a good stretch of 5 days to recuperate from the 7 inches of rain that we've had in the last few days.
Alrighty, thank you, Mac. And thank you for being with us. We hope to see you back here tonight for 25 News Now at 6. World News Tonight with David Muir is up next.